Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting of the Council and Committee of the Town of Petawawa to order. Thank you for joining us this evening. Welcome to members of council, staff, and all of our special guests. We've got some special presentations to make here this evening, so it's great to have all of you here this evening with us as well. We'll begin this evening's meeting with the reading of the land acknowledgement. As we gather this evening, I would like to acknowledge on behalf of the Petawawa Town Council and our community that we're meeting on the traditional territory of the Omami Winini Algonquin people. We would like to thank the Omami Winini people and express our respect and support for their rich history, and we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years, and we wish to acknowledge our shared responsibilities in responding to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission 94 calls to action. Call to action number 39. We call upon the federal government to develop a national plan to collect and publish data on the criminal victimization of Aboriginal people, including data related to homicide and family violence victimization. Some recent progress. Statistics Canada is advancing the collection of data on Indigenous identity of victims and accused in national police-reported crime statistics, with the aim of a better understanding of the experiences of Indigenous peoples concerning their interactions with the police as accused and victims of crime. I'd just like to ask all members of council if there's any disclosure of pecuniary interest in any of this evening's matters. Okay, we'll get right into it. We are very proud and honored to have 6 local athletes here from Garrison Petawawa who will be attending the Invictus Games this year. The 2025 Invictus Games, which are in Whistler and Vancouver in early February. So thank you very much for joining us this evening. It's an honor to have all of you here. And what we'll do this evening is introduce each of you. And as we do, if you could just give a small wave. And we're also honored to have the Garrison Commander here this evening with us, Colonel Jason Guinea, and Chief Warrant Officer Todd Buchanan is here with us as well to bring greetings and honor you from the Garrison as well. Okay, so we'll get right into it. Just before we introduce each athlete, just a word on the Invictus Games themselves. The word Invictus is Latin for unconquered. This is chosen as an embodiment of the fighting spirit of the wounded, injured, and sick service personnel and what they can achieve post-injury. So the first games were held in 2014 in London. There were 300 athletes from 13 countries. The most recent games were in 2023 in Dusseldorf, Germany, and there were 513 athletes from 21 countries. So the games keep growing and growing. And it's great to see that more and more countries are becoming involved and more athletes from around the world. So this year, as I said, it's in Vancouver, Whistler, and this is the first time ever the Invictus Games have included winter sports, winter adaptive sports. So there's going to be some alpine skiing, Nordic skiing, skeleton, and wheelchair curling. I can't believe they put skeleton in there. That is one crazy sport. Okay, so we'll start first with Jerome Boisvert-Boucher, and I'll turn it over to Councillor Boucher.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's my honor tonight to introduce Jerome Boisvert-Boucher, a combat engineer from Quebec City who is now living in Petawawa. Jerome has been posted to units across Canada, including the Canadian Forces Leadership and Recruit School, 5 Combat Engineer Regiment, 4th Canadian Division Training Center, and 2 Combat Engineer Regiment. Jerome has deployed several times to Afghanistan, has served as a CIED operator, Corps Warrant Officer of the Canadian Division Training Center, Sergeant Major of 23 Squadron at 2 Combat Engineer Regiment, and 2 IC of the Grey Wolf program. Jerome sustained multiple concussions due to explosions, which led to short-term memory loss, and his condition has impacted his personal and family life and has required adaptation. Jerome has found support for his recovery through community, work, and sports. And in particular, Jerome was inspired to apply for the Invictus Games after participating in various soldier-on events and seeing fellow combat engineers compete in the games. And in these upcoming games, Jerome will compete in Nordic skiing, indoor rowing, wheelchair basketball, and swimming. Jerome has shared that a lifelong lesson he has learned is that you are your own worst enemy, and I think a lot of us resonate with that. And I certainly appreciate your resilience and your example, and on behalf of the town of Petawawa, I wish you every success in these upcoming games. Thank you.
Congratulations. Okay, next up, we have Jessica Gearing. Jessica is actually, her hometown is Petawawa, Ontario. Jessica is a personnel selection officer with the Canadian Armed Forces with 22 years of dedicated service in 2 different occupations. Jessica started her career as a medical technician before transitioning to her current role in 2008. She's been posted to Edmonton, Kingston, Borden, Trenton, Ottawa, and now finally back to Petawawa.
Finally home.
Her career highlights include her deployment to Afghanistan, serving as a unit PSO with CANSOFCOM, and graduating with honors from RMC. Jessica explains that the greatest impact her injuries had on her is the way it has negatively affected her relationship with her son. Jessica became inspired to apply to the Invictus Games as it was an opportunity for her to be part of something bigger than herself and to demonstrate the power of perseverance and determination. Jessica holds this particular tenet to be true. Through every trial and triumph, try to choose kindness, resilience, and optimism. Those are good words to live by. Jessica is going to compete in alpine skiing, indoor rowing, skeleton, and wheelchair rugby. On behalf of the town of Petawawa, Jessica, we wish you the best in all of your endeavors in the upcoming Invictus Games. Thank you very much. Next up, we have Lee Jarrett.
It's my pleasure to be able to speak on behalf of Lee. Her motto is be epic and inspired no matter your age. Lee Garrett, an Air Force Training Development Officer from Calgary, Alberta, enjoyed a 30-year career in the Canadian Armed Forces. Her postings took her across the country, and she returned back to Kingston. Kingston and then Petawawa. Notable achievements in her career include being the top female athlete in basic training in 1993, becoming the first recipient of the LDSH Royal Canadian Torch Award for Athlete of the Year in 2010, completing the Mountain Man Challenge twice, both in 2009 and 2010, receiving her commission from the ranks as Master Corporal in 2014 to Construction Engineering Officer. Diagnosed with fibromyalgia in 2016, Lee silently struggled with her mental health as she had to give up the branch and trade, a trade that she had dedicated 8 years to achieving as her commission. This led to depression, as fibromyalgia condition is a condition that few people had the expertise to address at that time. Motivated to apply for the Invictus Games, she wanted to demonstrate that her illness does not define her, and she wanted to be confident she could leave the military on a high note. A lifelong lesson that she has learned is that everything happens for a reason, and we are all here to learn something. Absolutely. Lee is grateful for her family and working towards wellness. She will compete in sitting volleyball, alpine skiing, and swimming. No skeleton. Well done. The very best to you, and just do your best, and you'll do great. Thanks so much.
And now Councillor Roots will introduce Bradley Lavelle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Very proud to introduce Bradley Lavelle. Bradley is from Manitoba. Bradley is serving in the Army as a vehicle tech in the garrison at the town of Petawawa. Throughout his career, he's had many key accomplishments, such as serving on deployments in Bosnia, Syria, Israel, Ukraine, Latvia, as well as competing in the Nijmegen March, Iron Warrior Petawawa, Mountain Man Edmonton, and participating in the National Remembrance Day Parade. His injuries has restricted his ability to fully enjoy physical activities with his children Cadence and Kaylin, who is most grateful for alongside his wife Julie. Despite these challenges, Bradley continues to lead by example and persevere, motivated by his commitment to never giving up and always pushing oneself. He is motivated to apply to Invictus Games as serving member and represent Canada. Bradley's lifelong lesson is when in life is difficult, it's essential to dig deep, work hard, because coming out victorious will feel great. If injuries stop you from competing in events you once enjoyed, shift and find new sports. Bradley will compete in alpine skiing, sitting volleyball, indoor rowing. We wish you all the best, Bradley, from the town of Petawawa, and thank you for your efforts.
Okay, next we'll have Councillor Donovan introduce Pauline Lisco.
I am honored to introduce Pauline to the group here this evening. Originally from London, Ontario, she's been in Petawawa for about 18 years and is currently on IR status in Ottawa. She started as with the branch army and then changed over to the blue police. Her motto that she likes to live by: when you're looking in the mirror, you must like who is looking at you. So treat people the way you want to be treated, and a simple hello can change a person's day. Difficult times let us experience the taste of the roughness and how it feels. If we never had a bitter taste, we would never appreciate the taste of sweetness. Pauline's trade was a supply tech under material management technician, and she was working throughout her career in Petawawa with several different units, including 427 SOA and supply and meteorological section of that 427. She's also been with 2 Field Dam, and she's currently now on IR in Ottawa. Her career highlights encompass cherished friendships turned to family, fond memories from Port Irwin to Field Dam and 427 SOAS, and over 5 years of volunteering with OSIS as a trained peer support. She aims to continue this commitment even after retirement. Additionally, being chosen for the Invictus Games 2025 has provided her with a sense of normalcy and unwavering support from her team, family, and peers. Pauline's injuries have impacted her in different ways, both physically and mentally, but she's pushed through and found ways that she can help others going through similar experiences, showing them how, with hard work, goals can be reached, and you will have the support system to cheer you on. She was inspired to apply to the Invictus Games as her career in the Canadian Armed Forces is coming to a close in March 2025. This would be a highlight in my career, and to show other people, family, and colleagues that even with injuries, you are valued and chosen. You just need to put yourself out there and learn new ways to conquer your next dream. Pauline cherishes life, her 3 exceptional children, Victoria, Adam, and Reese, and her supportive husband, Jeff. Their amazing granddaughters, Ellie, Emily, and Claire, bring her joy and keep her young at heart. She acknowledges her family's pivotal role in her achievements. Her lifelong lesson is that tough times reveal true friends who stand by her through adversity. Overcoming challenges, she's formed lasting friendships and found inspiration in others' resilience. Being chosen for the Games introduced her to a supportive community, reinforcing her sense of acceptance and soldier-on support. Pauline will be competing in wheelchair curling, swimming, and indoor rowing. All the very best, Pauline. Have fun, enjoy the experience, and we're very proud of you.
Okay, next we'll have Councillor Carmody introduce Alexander Slade.
Thank you, Mayor Service. It is now my pleasure to introduce Alexander Slade from Service Branch Army, who hails from Guelph, Ontario. Alexander served as an infantry in the Canadian Army and has had 4 postings in his career. 2 RCR Regiment, 2008 to 2018, Royal New Brunswick Regiment, 2018 to 21, 3 Royal Canadian Regiment, 2021 to 2023, and the Training Center in Petawawa, 2023 to present. Alexander deployed to Afghanistan on Operation Athena as part of the TF-110. His career highlights include his deployment with TF-110 to Afghanistan, being awarded his Canadian Decoration, his 5th Canadian Division Commendation, and successfully completing the Advanced Mortar course and the Advanced Small Arms course. He explains that his injury impacts all aspects of his life, including the enjoyment of day-to-day activities, his relationships, employment, and his health. He was motivated to compete in the 2025 Invictus Games because the chance to be a part of Team Canada is very special to him. The moment I saw the Invictus Games 2025 application, I visualized myself in a Team Canada uniform at the opening ceremony about to compete on home soil. I experienced this rush in all 5 of my senses. I was there. The emotion I felt inspired me to apply. I will forever be grateful for that decision. Alexander is grateful for his family, his 3 children, and the lasting friendships he has made throughout his career and life. He shares his lifelong lesson. Never give up. Always try your best. Continue learning. Alexander will compete in alpine skiing, indoor rowing, swimming, and skeleton. On behalf of the town of Petawawa, we wish you all the best in your endeavors.
Now, there is a 7th athlete who was unable to make it here this evening, so I'll just give you a brief bio of him. His name is Mark Jones. He's from Orillia, Ontario. He has had a varied career in the military, and he is now an air weapons tech in the Air Force, right here in Petawawa. He has been posted to Petawawa, Comox, Ottawa, Trenton, and now back to Petawawa. There's a common theme here. Everybody comes back to Petawawa. It is the place to be. He has been deployed to various places around the world during his career, such as Somalia, Bosnia, Sicily, Afghanistan, and the Solomon Islands. His decision to apply for the Invictus Games stemmed from a desire to test himself and potentially enhance his abilities through sports and competition. His injuries have been a humbling experience, requiring him to relearn skills and discover alternative approaches. It has challenged him in ways he never thought possible. You have to realize what it does to not only you, but the whole of your family, and then find a way to sort through it if you can. Mark is grateful for his parents, kids, partner, close friends, and his health, and his lifelong lesson is never to give up, and that everything happens for a reason. Mark will compete in alpine skiing, indoor rowing, and wheelchair rugby. So Mark, if you're listening, on behalf of all of us here in the town of Petawawa, best of luck with your Invictus Games 2025. So for all of you, even choosing a career in the Canadian Armed Forces takes courage. It takes courage to sign up and choose that as a career. And you all did that, and you served with distinction, and you served your country well. And now you've taken on another challenge, and that also takes great courage. You've chosen to apply for these games. You were successful in your application, and I know you spent many months and weeks now training and working hard to prepare for these games. And now you're there. In another couple of weeks, you'll be on an airplane out to Vancouver and Whistler, and you'll get to compete with many different athletes from all over the world. We're very proud of everything that you've done in your career, and we're very proud of what you're now going to do. So on behalf of the town of Petawawa, congratulations and best of luck at the Invictus Games.
Thank you.
And now I'd like to call on the garrison commander, Colonel Jason Guinea, to take the word.
I was taking notes as I went because I always get nervous when I get in front of crowds, especially when I'm in front of such inspirational people as yourself. I'm sorry, I'm just going to go over here so I don't have my back to anyone. But there's a couple of things that I picked up out of this. And so first is, Mayor, I would like to propose that perhaps maybe the town look into a skeleton track here. Clearly a lot of your residents here are maybe on the back of the hill here, I don't know, but, or maybe next year Petawawa puts its own skeleton team into Invictus Games. I'd just like to sort of three things that came to me as I was listening to this. First is inspiration. So if we were just to sort of like, not like just sort of cut your bio off at your participation in Invictus Games, everything north of that is very inspiring. Your deployments, your postings, the leadership positions you've had, your service to your country, decades of service. It takes a remarkable person to serve, and so we thank you not just for what you do, but for who you are, because as we all know, military service isn't easy, not just on ourselves, on our families. So it takes remarkable courage for everything that you have done as a person and for your families for being supportive. And it's so inspiration just to hear about all your backgrounds, and huge respect for anyone who can pass the advanced mortar course. That's a lot of math. The second thing that I really got out of your bios is courage, because everything you've done in the military, whether it was that posting, that deployment, or changing jobs every 2 years, took you out of your comfort zone. And now, like, I don't think any of you did skeleton even 2 years ago, or wheelchair rugby. How do you do wheelchair rugby? I don't know, but that takes courage to go out of your comfort zone. And the fact that you're not just doing a sport, but multiple sports, takes you well outside of your comfort zone. And that takes a lot of courage to do something you've never done before. And the last one I'd really like to touch on is resilience. And I think it's absolutely remarkable that we recognize you today, also on the day of the 80th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz. And this morning I had the remarkable opportunity to be in the presence of a Holocaust survivor who survived Auschwitz-Birkenau and 4 other concentration camps. And I asked him during the Q&A session is, what advice do you have for us in uniform and for those future generations? And one of the things he said was resilience. And I think if I can connect with what he said this morning and hearing you about your careers, you haven't let things like your injuries stop you. In fact, you've taken that to a new level. You've shown that my service isn't done. I know many of you are still in uniform. Your service isn't done. Your service to yourselves, to your families, and to your country is not done. And I think you're a model of resilience. And so all of you had said you were inspired by those who were in Invictus Games before you. I stand in front of you as the City Council, inspired, but also remember this is you're inspiring the next generation of you. So go out there and give them hell. Give them hell, especially on that skeleton trap. Please be careful too. So just on behalf of not only the garrison Petawawa, in which many of you have served and continue to serve, and the town you call home, but on behalf of the entire Canadian Armed Forces and the country, is we don't stand just behind you, we stand with you. We're very proud of you, and we can't wait to see you in action and hear your stories when you come back. So thank you. Thank you for everything.
Well said, Colonel Guinea. And if there's going to be a skeleton track, it'll have to be a joint project, especially when it comes to the funding.
It's all that.
I think we can talk about this. Yeah.
Okay, what we'll do now is take a short break so we can invite all of the athletes up and give them a little swag bag and take a group photo. So we'll be checking out YouTube for a short break.
may not have started. What city is it? Petawawa. Don't go on. It might be, there might be a problem with the. See if the meeting was. It's on, like, I think they're getting organized. Oh, okay. Oh, they're taking a short break. I'll be back in a couple of minutes.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. And again, best of luck to all of our Invictus athletes from here in Petawawa, 2025 Invictus Games in Whistler and Vancouver. So we'll carry on with our meeting. First up, we have Recreation and Culture and Tourism, RCT-01-2025, our Petawawa Recreation Master Plan. Colin, the long-awaited Recreation Master Plan. We're looking forward to seeing it. Are you going to introduce our guest?
I will, yes.
Okay.
So we're here on the next step of the well-anticipated master plan. I'm looking forward to the next steps to finalize this document. Tonight we're looking for council to accept the attached documents as well as the presentation for information. Just to give you a bit of history, the former recreation master plan guided us in the development of the community's recreational spaces programs from 2012 right to 2022. Over that 10-year period, the majority of the plan's recommendations were completed, leading to noticeable improvements in the community's recreation infrastructure and services. These changes included upgrades to existing facilities, the creation of new programs, as well as enhanced recreational opportunities for its residents. With these successful outcomes, the town decided to build on the progress by developing a new 10-year plan that will outline the next steps for further growth and development in the recreational sector. In early 2024, Think Design was awarded the contract to formulate the master plan to guide council staff over the next 10 years. As a part of the research, the firm's representatives met with staff, council members, as well as local user groups. In addition, they conducted a review of the town's current strategies and an open online survey, as well as random telephone survey. Think Design has used the data collected to create a comprehensive master plan that includes 15 immediate recommendations, 15 short-term recommendations, 10 medium or long-term recommendations for the growth, for facility advancement, as well as further community development. The information presented in the executive summary, as well as the recreation master plan, are not finalized documents. Council will have the opportunity to provide written feedback to Think Design about the draft plan. Additionally, the plan will be posted on the town's website for residents and users to review and provide feedback. After that 2-week period, the firm will finalize the plan and we will be back to have council consider adopting the plan. I'd like to introduce at this time Think Design with Leandra and Mary, and I'll pass it off to Think to present their findings.
Thank you, Colin. Will you guys be sharing the presentation on your end?
No, we had you sharing it from your end. I've given you presenter.
Okay, give me one moment. I'll get that up. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah. Great. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. My name is Leandra Corielli Ferguson. I'm an associate at Think Design, as Colin mentioned. We're a planning and landscape architecture firm that specializes in, among other things, parks and recreation planning. I'm joined today by my colleague, Mary Catherine Mihak. She's also a parks and recreation planner with Mihak, Kelly and Associates. And we've had the pleasure of working on this project for the past year. Mouse. Okay. So tonight, we're going to present a summary of the recommendations from the draft Parks and Recreation Master Plan. We'll begin with an overview of the project, including its purpose, process, and our consultation approach. Then we'll review key recommendations for each service area, then finally discuss the implementation strategy. So, project overview. The purpose of a master plan. What is the purpose of a 10-year master planning document such as this? It guides the planning and provision of parks and recreation services for the next 10 years. We developed the recommendations using a variety of data, including surveys, interviews, facility use data, trends in the parks and recreation sector, etc. This type of document should be viewed as a living document. It should be updated and adjusted throughout the annual budgeting process, as well as circumstances change. Recommendations may need to be changed or altered to adapt to stay relevant. Some initiatives will also require additional community consultation to arrive at detailed plans and designs, as these recommendations tend to be more high level. And council, in consultation with municipal staff, will determine when and how initiatives are actually implemented. So a little bit about the project phases. There were 3 phases. We kicked off with a background review of different documents, sociodemographic data. We visited Petawawa and did site tours. We did mapping and inventories. At the same time, we conducted a series of consultations with the public and stakeholders, which I'll share more about on the next slide. All the findings from phase 1 were summarized in a consultation report. In phase 2, we assessed the current context, community interest, needs and opportunities for improvement, and we developed draft recommendations. We then submitted that and revised it, went through a couple rounds of revision in discussion with staff. And now we're in the final phase. You'll see those green text. That's where we are right now. We're presenting this draft to the council, and then it will go to the community for further comments before it's finalized. So, consultation approach. There was a random telephone survey which received feedback from 300 households. There was an open house which had 110 attendees, which is a really great turnout for an open house. And likewise, the online survey, which was posted on the municipal website, had 769 respondents, which is also a really great response rate from a municipality this size. We also did 12 individual and small group interviews with council and staff. We also had 4 group interviews with community organizations. And we put out an online survey that was geared to user groups that rent and use facilities to host their programs. And as you mentioned, the final consultation will be posting the draft online so that the community at large can review and provide feedback. Okay, so we'll get into the recommendations, starting with programs and events. And I will mention there were many recommendations in the plan. So this is really just a summary. Otherwise, we would be here for probably hours. So for program development, a key sort of contextual factor that needed to be taken into account is facility limitation. That's the main aspect that prevents expanding programs. So when we're going through these program recommendations, this is considering if staff is sufficient and facility space is sufficient, then these are the recommendations for programs, okay? So existing programs are well attended and well liked by the community. So these programs should be continued. There should also be an expansion of program options for all age groups, specifically summer camp, fitness, indoor winter programs, outdoor water-based programs, and intergenerational programs. When possible, providing a child minding service that aligns with adults programs would also be beneficial. We heard that was a big barrier for adults attending programs and recreating. Pickleball is, of course, a priority, so helping get recreational pickleball off the ground and working with existing volunteers, clubs, instructors at the senior center to continue providing the established seniors programs as well as expanding where there are gaps. Working with theater groups to develop drama programs and events, and offering more arts programming, specifically dance and visual arts, were of interest. Integrating local art by local artists into public spaces and parks. Events are another strong point for the town, and that came through in consultations. People really enjoy them. They prioritize them. It's important. There's a lot of interest. So continuing to develop cultural events. And along with that, the Norman Street site, which we'll talk about later, program that site once it's developed with markets and events. Outdoor recreation, also another key part of recreation in Petawawa. So continue to provide and support those opportunities. And in that same vein, continue to provide equipment rentals and seek to expand that where possible. One example could be a mobile activity center. All right, and that's it for programs. I'll pass it over to Mary Catherine to take you through facilities.
Thanks, Leandra. Could you put it on slide 12, please, to start?
Yep.
Thank you. Yeah, this is we have 26 recommendations with respect to indoor facilities, and a lot of this is addressing what Leandra was speaking about in terms of providing the space and facilities to develop needed programs. So the two recommendations on this side set the stage to prepare a facility study for developing a multi-purpose recreation center. And the deliverables for an RFP for this purpose. So the following 5 slides comment on individual facilities to be included in this study. Next slide, please. The 2 major facilities are an arena and an indoor pool. So key variables for the arena would be to determine the extent to which confirmed demand would support a second pad and the possibility of twinning it with the existing arena to add it to supply. Key variables for the pool would be confirming a market to support it and other municipal interests in contributing to its construction and operations. Next slide, please. Municipal indoor complexes typically include a gymnasium, an indoor track, and multi-purpose program spaces. So in addition to confirming their provision, the study would provide guidance on how to integrate these facilities and what to construct in the way of multi-purpose space based on the programming objectives of the town and broader trends that will contribute to need and interest and demand. Next slide, please. Age-specific program spaces for seniors and youth can be addressed based on factors such as supplementing services at the Silver Threads Community Center, and for youth by identifying youth-serving organizations in the community that are interested in being part of the complex. A fitness gym might be provided via a contract with the commercial provider. And child mining space, as Leandra's already mentioned, could be provided to leverage use of a complex by adults. Next slide, please. A second commercial kitchen would enable expanded programming as well as rentals to the community. A vending cafe with seating could increase revenues and encourage people to spend more time at the complex. Sufficient secure storage for all users would be required while establishing limits to the size and use of these assigned spaces. Since storage is also a current need, purchasing or renting mobile storage units to provide needed additional space is a short-term measure to help in that area. Next slide, please. Administration offices for the complex could be provided as renovated space or new construction, and trends to consider for additional spaces and in the design include things like emergency sheltering, social gathering, leasable spaces, indoor playgrounds, that sort of thing. Excuse me, now on to outdoor facility recommendations, which include adding 1 more ball diamond to supply during the term of the master plan, while monitoring the use of all diamonds to identify opportunities to improve scheduling and timing the construction of a new facility. Relocating the Kittyland Park diamond as part of the proposed concept plan for that site. And in support of inclusion, looking to the Jay's Care Field of Dreams program to develop accessible and inclusive ball diamonds where improvements or additional facilities are being provided. Next slide, please. Excuse me. Sports fields, providing a full-size sports field to serve various age groups and future growth in minor, senior, and adult participation in field sports. Designing future facilities as multi-purpose to also accommodate other field sports, and monitoring all field use to track unmet demand for the timing of future facility provision. And sometimes you might be able to light an existing field that to provide later access for senior or minor or adult use instead of adding a new field. A cricket field should be provided to serve existing users, support club development, and attract participants and club use from outside Petawawa. Other considerations include an elite track and field facility for competitions and an indoor artificial turf field house, which are becoming more and more popular in Ontario and Canadian municipalities. Next slide, please. With respect to tennis and pickleball courts, additional courts aren't needed unless the town wants to provide an enhanced level of service based on the club's preferred scheduling for pickleball and tennis. A review of current scheduling should be conducted to identify required changes to build court use to capacity. If needed, based on the review, 1 designated tennis court, 4 standard pickleball courts, and 1 dual-use court could be provided. A formal agreement with the Petawawa Tennis and Pickleball Club can also clarify the responsibilities of both the town and the club in operating and maintaining the courts, stipulate access for club members, non-members, and the town for programming, and club activity in providing instruction and play for all children and youth
Mary,
in the community.
your audio is breaking up.
Oh. Okay, I'll turn my video off, I guess. Is this better?
Yeah, it sounds a little bit better.
Okay, okay. Sorry, I'm a long way away.
No, it's
That
still
could be part of the problem. No?
No, sorry.
Leandro, do you want to continue?
Sure, I could. It's fine. I can hear you crystal clear, and I was just thinking, wow, the connection is great tonight. So that's too bad. Do you
That's
want
not
me to
much
take?
better.
What's
I'm
that,
thinking
sorry?
maybe we're being. Yeah, I'm having a feeling we're having a problems because of it might be the weather that we're dealing with outside.
Oh,
Oh.
is that there?
How about now?
Maybe try turning off your video as well,
Okay.
Leandra. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, so I can hear everybody okay on my end. How am I now?
I can hear you too, very well.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
in New
it's
Zealand. I'm
repeating
in New
on the-
Zealand, so that's why I was thinking it was me.
We're getting the presentation from Max Headroom.
We might have to go off and go back in. Can you do that?
Maybe if you just try, yeah, maybe if you exit and come back in, and I'll set you back
Okay.
up.
Okay,
Sure, we'll do that.
we're gonna go back. We're gonna exit and go back in. It's something at their end. They've got bad weather there. I mean, Leandra, I can hear her perfectly. She can hear
Still
me
there,
perfectly.
Mary?
I'll try again.
Can you log Mary yet?
Technology is grand when it works.
There we go. I'm admitting Leandra.
I don't think Mary ever logs out.
Uh-oh, where am I?
Okay, how are we sounding now?
Well, maybe Mary, one of you needs to try muting your mic. One of you.
Okay,
Okay, there we go. Leandra?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we're still having. I don't think it's.
They said they can each hear each other.
Yeah, it's the feed coming in. Sorry.
Can you hear me, Alexandra? No.
Sorry, you're both cutting out.
Did Mary ever log out?
I don't think she did, but I don't think that's the problem. Okay, Leandra, can you come on?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're repeating or you're lagging.
Oh.
Okay, so you mute. Mary, can we try you? Mary, can you turn your mic on, please?
Is that off?
That sounded better.
I don't think
No, you're off again.
Okay, how's that?
Okay, let's
you
try
hear me?
proceeding. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, we're having
All right.
issues.
You want to go ahead with an economic development report? Let them log off, take a break, and see if we can get them back.
You know what? I'll call the, let me just find the presentation, and Colin can probably finish it off. Sorry.
That's too bad.
How, can you hear me now, or is it still a problem?
It's still echoing.
Oh,
Here, let me just. Let me just find it here. I'm gonna send it to myself.
Is their presentation different?
No, it's the same one. Okay, there we go. Yeah, but when I log off, I always feed. Just 1 second. Crap. Someone. Second. Technical difficulties. There we go. No. Okay, stop, please. There's my view. I'm gonna go full. Oh, stop it. I'm trying to get this to full screen. Oh. There we go. Screen mode. Sure. Where's it here? Computer. No, of course it's not there. Crap. Yeah, it's not letting me share. That's the problem with not having. Okay, just go for it. We won't be able to.
So it won't be seen on YouTube?
Unfortunately, the rest of it won't be seen on YouTube. Yeah.
But we are still on YouTube?
Yeah.
Do you want to try again? Do you want me to try sharing?
You're still
Not good.
your audio's still on.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I can continue on from page 19. Just to consider providing an indoor artificial turf field house and determine the town's role in providing amenities to user groups beyond the basic level of service. To continue on facilities outdoors, the tennis and pickleball courts, given current use of the Civic Center courts, additional facilities are are not needed, we are to conduct and review of current scheduling, existing use, and club and non-club member access. And we are to enter into a formal agreement with Petawawa Tennis and Pickleball Club, and if required, to improve use of the courts with need verified through the review of scheduling, use, and consider providing 1 designated tennis court and 4 standard pickleball courts and 1 dual-use court, as well as to institute a monitoring program of all courts, including Pine Ridge. In addition, for planning purposes, prepare to add pickleball courts in the future in response to possible growth and participation. Ideally, new pickleballs should be provided with the existing courts at the Civic Center. With facilities and asset management, implement an updated asset management plan, as well as continue to prioritize and undertake required capital improvements on an annual basis, including those directed to achieving accessibility. Into our next area, programs and events, facilities, as well as parks and open spaces, and the service delivery implementation. The general recommendations to adopt the updated parkland classification system and aim for an 800 meters radius of parkland provision in new development areas. We're looking at improving accessibility and improving comfort, as well to include shade, washrooms, drinking water, lighting, and seating. Develop an inventory of assessment of stormwater management ponds and consider developing a policy associated with the design of guidelines for integrating stormwater management ponds with parks and trails. Additionally, develop a tree inventory and urban forestry plan. Continue to develop a neighborhood parks and green space management plan, as well as prioritize projects that expand opportunities for free or unstructured outdoor activities. As well as play equipment in parks is due for replacement. Consider introducing features such as climbing boulders, natural playgrounds, obstacle courses, and outdoor fitness trails. The next area is community park recommendations. At the Petawawa Civic Center, to expand play equipment, shaded areas, washroom facilities, especially those around the splash pad. Implement the off-leash dog park best practices, monitor abuse of dog park, and consider developing a second off-leash park if demand warrants. Look at upgrade of the bike park equipment, considering adding lights, and work with the existing cycling and BMX clubs to encourage community participation and stewardship of that park. At Centennial Park, implement the measures to improve water quality and broaden available activities at the park. For Petawawa Point Park and the boat launch, to develop a master plan that addresses accessibility, circulation, play equipment, the pavilion, parking, and trail connectivity. As far as Kittyland Park, to continue to develop the concept and the design work for that park. In our next area for parks and open spaces, as well as neighborhood park recommendations, with regards to Mones Park, to explore the possibility of expanding and lighting the ball diamond, develop a safe connection to the school, as well as improve parking area and install accessible washroom facilities. At Fish Hatchery Park, to look at adding a crosswalk to the entrance, and Pine Ridge Park, to install signage on the main street, develop a pathway system within the park connecting amenities, and beautify fencing at the entrances. Into our next section for programs and events and facilities, as well as open spaces and trails for service delivery implementation. Look at developing services and meeting future parks and recreation needs. The town will need to continue to act in both direct and indirect capacities. Continue the town's focus in service provision on meeting demand that complements and does not compete with other providers. Looking at assigning projects that bridge accessibility, equity, diversity, and inclusion as joint initiatives to the appropriate committees, as well as develop a regional role in service provision. In the area of expanding service capacity, continue to maximize access to available program spaces to facilitate the work of all town programmers. Monitor the extent to which the new permanent positions address service development needs. Enhance staff competencies for process-related work such as monitoring, planning, and evaluation. In addition, ensure staffing levels remain sufficient to continue effective operation and maintenance during the plan's term. Ensure all collaborations are supported by appropriate agreements. Expand mutually beneficial collaborations with community-based service providers. Look to reach out to local, regional, and provincial sport and recreational organizations, as well as investigate opportunities to collaborate with post-secondary schools in the area. With regards to policies and practice, I recommend in consultation and collaborators and partners regularly review and as required to update to agreements. To review and update terms and conditions of rentals, field names, and in-field allocation policy. The next corporate review of grants and community group policy requests consideration of the need for new revised parameters on use of grants, town's contributions, accountability, and evaluation requirements. Review and update the special events policy to include cost recovery requirements for services provided by the town. As a part of the special events policy update, consider distinguishing between events intended for town residents and those designed to attract visitors and align town support respectively. Create and adopt a parkland dedication bylaw and cash in lieu of parkland policy. And additionally, conduct a service pricing analysis as the basis for setting recreation service fees. To continue on with policies and practices, to consider developing an inclusion policy, develop a community group affiliation policy, consult with volunteer recreation groups to confirm and inform the development of the policy. Develop policy on storage at the town's parks and facilities. Implement tennis and pickleball court use allocation as a part of the formal agreement with the Petawawa Tennis and Pickleball Club. Develop a collaboration and partnerships policy. Institute revenue generating programs to help offset the costs of service provisions. Additionally, assign priority to revenue generating programs according to the ease of implementation. To look at developing an advertising and sponsorship policy and a more comprehensive park, facility, and naming policy. As well as regularly review and update policies to reflect the relevant changes. In the next section for planning, monitoring, and evaluation, use information and communications initiatives in the 2023-26 municipal accessibility plan. Consider the need for a separate recreation guide in the long term as municipal parks and recreation services grow. Consider reciprocal promotion with other agencies and neighboring municipalities. Prepare and post an annual services year-end review. Consider the need for a comprehensive marketing strategy in the long term. Develop an enhanced database to apply in the formal recreation facilities and program services plan. As well, work with potential non-municipal program service providers in facility design and development phases of future plan capital projects. Take the lead in instituting regularly occurring joint services planning with other providers, as well as conduct a comprehensive 5-year review of this master plan. In our programs of and facilities, open spaces, and trails service delivery implementation. You can see there's going to be a long list of what I had mentioned at the first of the short-term first-year plan to look at the first 15 recommendations over those course. We've got the next 15 over the short term of second and third year of the master plan. And then we carry on to the next 10 that carry us forward for the midterm, the 4th and 6th year, as well as long term for the 7th through 10th year. And then THINK has provided us with the implementation of all the recommendations over that 10-year time frame. And this is a quick synopsis of the financials, but not a complete one. of the costs, budgeting, and the immediate needs for operating versus capital, as well as everything from here forward, from dependencies and efficiencies, staff resources, and flexibility of this program. I don't know if we have them back online or able to contact for questions that council may have.
Okay, while you're trying to get them back on, just a thank you on behalf of council to Think for all of their work and their flexibility. And it's unfortunate that we had a technological glitch there, and I know you probably prepared in length for this presentation this evening, so it's unfortunate we couldn't hear it all from you. Colin filled in nicely though.
Can you hear me?
On board for questions. It doesn't sound like.
Well, let's try. So we'll weather through it.
Okay, so I'll open it up to council for questions or comments. Councillor Coutinho.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Colin, and thank you also to Think for preparing this document. It was an amazing read, and there was a lot in there that obviously is going to be very exciting to try and bring to Petawawa. I had a question specifically about all the policy development. There's a lot of really good policy that you pointed to that can help us with our priorities and helping us work better with our user groups and affiliated groups, etc. I'm just wondering, thinking about the department and the capacity there, I know there's a lot of amazing people with amazing brains. Is this the sort of thing though that you would anticipate the town would be contracting out for? Or would it be something that we would have maybe the capacity to do in-house? Or I was just wondering if you could comment a bit about what those policy pieces will take. Thank you.
Can you hear me? No?
Yeah. Go
Okay. Yeah, for some of them, there will be maybe a considerable work that you might have to consider hiring outside help, maybe pricing, depending on how complicated that gets. But oh, okay. Okay.
Yes, you can also, and Mary Catherine, you could type in the chat as well, because we can hear you fine. Can you hear me?
Yes.
No, we can't hear you either. Well, we could hear you a little bit better there, but it's still
Right.
getting jumbled.
We can take your questions and we'll type the responses in the chat. But basically, some of the policies can be done in-house and some of them are a bit more extensive, like the pricing policy, you may want to contract that out, but many of them could be done in-house. I hope you got that.
I got most of that. Yeah, actually that wasn't bad. Thank you.
Alan, do you want to chime in there?
Sorry, go ahead, Colin. I know we currently are reviewing a lot of our policies that we do have to sort of update them and get them where they need to be. I think we do have some. There's also a lot of policies that are already out there that we can adopt that will help us to get forward. So we don't have to rewrite how things are done. We can adopt what's already out there using organizations like Parks and Recreation Ontario with policies that they have and just take on and follow what they're already doing. So we don't have to do that all ourselves as well.
Perfect. Thank you.
I put some stuff in the chat.
Well, for Leandra and Mary, maybe what we'll do is, while the question's asked, hopefully Colin is able to answer it. And while he's answering, maybe if you have something to add, you can type it in.
Your worship.
And the CAO would like to chime in as well.
Yeah, the clerk and I were just discussing this quickly, and we're thinking maybe if you write out your questions, if we can get them. So I know you want to ask them in an open forum, but if you have any questions, maybe you could send them to us and we'll get them on to the consultants and we'll get you answers back as quickly as we can. It's probably the most effective and efficient way of doing it.
Yeah, that would work.
Okay, Councillor Kerman.
Thank you, Mayor Service. I think you're absolutely correct that these questions should be answered or asked in an open forum. I don't like the secrecy behind that. I don't think that would be the way to approach this or to solve this technological glitch. I just can't support that. Sorry.
Then proceed as you are.
Yeah. Would you like to proceed, Councillor Kerman, with your comments and questions?
Certainly. Thank you to Leandra and Mary and Colin for your presentation. I'm a believer that you can't manage what you don't measure. So I was a little surprised that in many places in the master plan, it made reference to the fact that moving forward, we have to start monitoring the use of our outdoor facilities and start monitoring the use of this and that. So I was a little surprised that we didn't have a better handle on what the current use was. And then that led me directly to question how we came up with the recommendation that, or the conclusion that extra pickleball courts were not necessary if they were already at capacity. And I'm just wondering, how did we determine that they were at capacity if we're not monitoring it? So there were some inconsistencies that I just couldn't immediately make sense of.
Okay. All right, so we'll let you type a message and I'll go to the next counselor.
I
Okay.
might be able to answer James's question.
Well, give it a shot, Councilor Kujan.
So in the master plan, they recorded sort of an averaging of requirement for use. So they're saying based on our population and the usage that you could expect, if you average out the use, we have enough pickleballs, but the highlight was if we want to improve the user experience, we could add more courts so that people could play on the more temperature friendly times of day. So if you spread it out, we have enough courts on paper, but not when you're adding in the temperature. So we might want to add more just for improving the user experience.
So So I have an answer here from Mary. They used the schedule from the club to see what was happening now. And there's another piece of it coming in here, I see. But no, that was the answer that was provided.
Are you satisfied with that answer, Councilor Kennedy? You have a follow-up?
Yes, that does make sense. And certainly the time of day was kind of one of the factors that I was considering in this as well, is that you certainly can't send people out on pickleball courts or tennis courts in the heat of the day, not seniors anyway, perhaps young people can swing it, but so there are considerations like that, and I was wondering if that time of day consideration was part of it, in determining that there was limited capacity or ample capacity or what have you.
Thank you.
Just one more, there seem to be opportunities to increase use at different times, which I think speaks to the time of day issue that you were referring to.
Deputy Mayor Simon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you to everybody who provided input into this very valuable master plan. I don't have any issues with any of the information that's presented, the recommendations. I really appreciate seeing those along with the rationale. Just with respect to master plan, for example, at the and redevelopment of Petawawa Point, we did have one conducted a number of years ago, and I'm not sure if that was provided to you. It might be something that we want to dust off, look at, as opposed to conduct another feasibility study. I see a number of feasibility studies pointing towards some of the bigger projects, and I think that's really smart. The consultation report, I think, is really important to go along with this report on the website, because it shows who was consulted, how that all played out. A little over 1,000 respondents from the town of Petawawa. And I guess what's important to me, and I'm not sure if you've got that data, is sort of the breakdown of the major things. So we've got the pool, we've got the gymnasium, we've got the multiplex, we've got the second pad, and I guess I'm just looking at sort of numbers of do you have that kind of data that you can also share? Sort of, were there 998 pro pool people? Were there 26? I don't know, and that will help me anyways. Thank you.
And you are right, Deputy Mayor Savern, there was a master plan for the point done in 2012. I've looked at it a few times and recently as well. It is a little dated, but there is a lot of quality suggestions in that plan that we could probably adapt and use going forward. Okay, go ahead, CAO.
So the answer on your question regarding numbers, they said they could get that. Just going back to, so oh, there's an additional comment. There were probably thousands of comments submitted, so they could do a search of keywords and numbers if we wished. Also want to mention, going back to the pickleball questions or comments, what Councillor Coutu was correct in regards to the factors. It's just a matter of ideal times. If you wish to provide additional course to provide more comfortable times, you could, but it's not because there is no space currently, is the comment that they had, based on the research they did.
Follow up?
Just one.
Must have already been on, sorry. Just one more comment more than anything else. With respect to storage, we've had issues with storage for a lot of years, so I think that's probably a low-hanging fruit that we want to explore. But that being said, just with respect to the next steps, we're going to get to that in a few minutes as to what that's going to look like, and because I know it's going to go out to the public. And I guess what I'm wondering is what are we expecting in terms of feedback? I mean, the plan isn't to change the content of this report. The information has already been out there and whatnot. What is the feedback going to be used for? How is that going to inform us, I guess, is when we're going out to the public and whatnot, we need to be clear as to what we're going to do with that feedback, I guess. Thank you.
It looks like Colin's ready to give that one a second.
Great.
Well, Leander and Mary type.
Yes, you're correct. We're not going to be able to do this. If you've seen the complete document, it is a hefty document, it's several hundred pages long. I believe they're looking to just further the information that's on there, so they have more to, for a better term, justify what they have in there.
Deputy Mayor?
If I could, please, just a follow-up question, Colin, if you don't mind. When you say further justify what they have in there, I just want to be, is it just in terms of, are people seeking clarification questions? Are they making comments on some of the data that's there? If there's nothing that's going to be, is there anything that's going to be able to be changed or modified, maybe is my question.
I think the CAO would like to read what Leander has typed here.
Okay, oh geez, they keep moving on me. When the feedback is received from the public, they'll meet with Colin and I to discuss everything that was heard. And then from there, we'll determine if there are any major changes that need to be made based on the feedback that was provided. And it doesn't often happen, but it could. So usually at this point, there's minor changes that can be made based on the feedback received. Often, further to that, often public comment does not result in major revisions, but we would not make changes without your blessing, obviously, or our blessing as a town. And if people question things, they will address it. So.
Thank you.
Go back to Councillor Kearney.
Thank you for your service. Back to this issue of monitoring the use of our outdoor facilities. What is the plan moving forward to get more accurate data on what's happening with our outdoor facilities, what the usage really is?
Colin, you want to try that one?
I know we do have, with our booking system, we can tell you basically the exact number. I know from month to month report, we do give council those numbers. I think further to what we were just discussing, the use is on prime time. That is the prime use that's used when everyone wants between start to finish the exact. So if it's, as an example, soccer, that's, supper to dark. So we've got to look at whether it's lighting to expand those times. It might not necessarily mean immediate another field. We just need to expand the times that those fields are used. So we just need to see where we need to invest or develop or further look into what we can do for that. It's not necessarily that we don't have enough, it's how we can further use what we already have.
Okay, I think that's a good point, and even if once we collect all that data, it would indicate that we need to adjust. Maybe it's something immediate or short term or medium term. That data will help us as a council decide if we need to move something up or if something can because ultimately Do we have a follow-up, Councilor? No, permit, Councilor Shubu?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I had noted that there was the idea and the plan of using some student labor to kind of see what the actual on the ground was. And I noted too, there was some really good idea for monitoring the actual use of the partner organizations. I know minor soccer has been one that dominates the fields and then sometimes doesn't use it to capacity. So I'm really interested in that approach, trying to use what we have better. So I'm really excited to find out more. Thank you.
Councilor Donovan?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you. First off, as said, thank you very much for all the people that were involved in the development of this plan and how we're moving things forward. I really do appreciate the reference and the importance that's been laid on the accessibility and inclusion within the facilities, parks, all the different events that we're offering. That's great. Colin, if there is a heftier document, would it be possible to see that? When you say there's a hefty.
No, we provided the full documentation.
Oh,
to you.
okay,
So
I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
You have the executive summary, and you also have the main report itself, the full report. So that has a number of appendices and all the information in there beyond just.
Sorry, I misunderstood. I
Yeah.
thought there was reference made to a part that wasn't here.
An even bigger one.
Yes. Right,
200.
86,000. 86,000.
It's thick.
Are there any other questions or comments from members of council? Okay, so thank you again, Colin, for stepping up. And thank you very much, Leandra and Mary. And again, it's unfortunate that you had to type and just smile at us and rather than speaking to us. But I think a lot of work has gone into this and has provided a framework for the town of Petawawa for the next 10 and further years. I know Colin mentioned that we should revise it or revisit it every 5 years, which is important as well. But it's important to remember that tonight we're just receiving this as information, and now this document is going to go for public comment. And as we heard, the public will get a chance to provide their feedback on what they feel this plan does for them, keeping in mind that this is a living document. And it is a guideline for the town, and it does set out immediate goals, short-term goals, medium goals, and long-term goals. But in the end, it comes down to council and what the community is telling us. So there may be a long list of immediate goals, but maybe the public and council doesn't feel that some of those are immediate, and we may move some of those back. We may reach ahead and look at some that are short-term and medium-term and feel that as a community and council, that we need to move some of these up and implement them a little sooner. And again, it all comes down to budgetary pressures as well, because all of these items in this master plan cost money. And ultimately, well, sometimes you can get grants, but ultimately it comes down to the taxpayer dollar. So in the end, we have to be cognizant of that as well and how we're spending our money here in the town of Petawawa. But I think it's great to see all of the recommendations and all of the plans. All of it is good for the town of Petawawa, whether it happens immediately, short-term, or long-term. It's to the benefit of all of our community and all of our recreation here in the town. So thanks again to Think and to Colin and to everybody that had anything to do, and for our community who gave feedback. I know we have some members of our pickleball community here, and we have a lot of passionate user groups in the town, various sports and recreational activities, and everybody wants or feels that theirs is more important. But it's great to hear from you, and we as a council will listen to everything you say and make a decision together as a community and a council and decide what's best for us. Okay? So we're going to receive that for information, and we're looking forward to hearing back from our community in the weeks to come. So thanks, Leandra and Mary, and hopefully we figure out what went wrong with the technology.
Thank you.
All right, good night.
Bye.
Thanks, Colin. Okay, next we have the economic development report. Christine has been waiting patiently to deliver her monthly report. Christine, over to you.
Thank you, Mayor and members of council. This is the Economic Development Monthly Report for December. Pretty straightforward. December is a time to wrap up some projects, pay some CIP files. A lot of effort was expended in December in our BRNE recruitment activities. BRNE has the Business Retention and Expansion Program, which we are undertaking as part of 2025 work plan as a follow-up to our FICE work. December also was about the holiday tailgate market as part of the Marion Bright Festival, and the submission of the final report for the My Main Street grant, which was for items that were part of the Petawawa container market. Luckily, we submitted that grant and have since received the full allocation that was awarded to us for that grant program. In terms of procurement, we also moved ahead with awarding the RFQ for the Town of Petawawa logo redesign and branding guidelines to Syntax Strategic, who was one of the 26 companies that requested the RFQ. And of the 9 submissions that were received and scored, they offered to do the work pro bono. And so we have already started the process of meeting with them on a regular basis to move this particular project forward. I have a number of appendices as part of my December report that I did want to go over council with. So the first being the 2024 business openings, closures, and relocations document. So it's simply a summary of businesses that closed for relocation purposes or based on sale, or businesses that did open here in the town of Petawawa. I don't want to go through the entire list. They were provided as part of the appendix work. And then the relocated businesses. So we did see a number of our businesses relocate for growth purposes, which was very positive. And then it also highlights some anticipated openings for businesses in 2025, many of which are currently underway already, as they were anticipated to start for the first of the new year. The second appendix document that I provided was a commercial land snapshot. This was meant to provide council with just a bit of the reality of the availability of private commercial space within the town of Petawawa. This information is a web page on the municipal website that is administered by the Economic Development Department. So when we do get inquiries on opportunities, I often refer the inquiries to this page and to specific properties as it relates to whatever their inquiry is. Of note, though, I did want to highlight that we have a limited supply of ready available, leasable opportunities. In the queue right now, there's actually 3 leasable spaces, a very small quantity. The largest, of course, of the commercial designated lands relates to our Victoria Street Mall, which does have 67,000 plus square feet of leasable space, but is currently not ready for any kind of rental occupancy. And in fact, there's 3 current open permits on that property that have been open for a couple of years. Even 352 Petawawa Boulevard, we have a tenant for in the first portion of that property, who is due to open mid-February. And while there is the existing space in that property, unfortunately, urbanization of the entire property has to happen to accommodate, an additional business. I also provided council with commercial properties that have owners seeking leases with build-to-suit opportunities. There are quite a few of them, including the second phase of the Metro Lands, the Retail B, the property that we know as Danny's Steakhouse, and some property on Ellard Street, which is property behind the Tim Hortons at the corner of Petawawa and Mullins. While the owners of these properties are motivated to build and develop these properties, they do need tenants and to commit to a build process for that to occur, so it's not immediate build opportunity. I also noted the private vacant commercial lands available for sale or redevelopment, noting that, you know, a purchase of these types of lands would not realize a development until mid to late 2026, just based on process. And then there's a section noting the commercial buildings for sale. And while these commercial buildings had tenants or have tenants, the sale does afford us the opportunity to see new tenants come into those spaces. Although it is dependent on the sale price, meeting the purchaser's objectives and willingness to purchase the property in the community. I provide this for information. It's certainly a different picture than 2019. When we assumed this portfolio, there was quite a few leasable spaces. So we have leased a number of spaces in the community. There's a lot more businesses using the spaces provided. But I did just want to provide you with that snapshot so that you are aware of some of the challenge in bringing commercial industry to the town, just based on the availability of the space needed to do the work. As attachment number 3, we have provided you with a high-level summary of the FICE First Communities Exchange Program. You will recall that we did this summer in the month of June and early July with North Grenville. Part of the results of the FICE will be actions and outcomes for our myriad of municipal departments that we will work with in collaboration. I don't think any of the findings were a surprise to the members of council. There's certainly a lot of low-hanging fruit and opportunity for us to immediately improve the visitor experience and navigation in our community. And I just want to highlight that the wayfinding will be of particular importance as part of our branding undertaking, and then noting this, the wayfinding, the improvement of that will be work that we will be actively seeking to participate in the next couple of years. As item attachment number 4, I give you a summary of the community improvement plan. So this was adopted by council in 2021 in the month of October. This summary document shows that in 2021 we had 1 project, 2022 4, 2023 7, and 2024 10 projects, for a total of 22 projects receiving CIP support over the last 4 years. The municipal dollars that are associated with this project are $132,566.97, which realize a 473% return, with the value being $759,631 in total project costs. So this is wonderful that council endorses this program and supports it so actively, and that we are, as a department, able to market this program and have some more intake. Our most popular grants are signage, facade, and accessibility. And we are currently launching the 2025 campaign of awareness for CIP programs, hoping to get early interest and engagement so that we can plan the work ahead for 2025 and support the businesses. And I will note that as part of our VRNA process, we are asking specific questions about CIP, and that data that we mine from that process will also help inform the 2026 CIP review that's in our work plan. I also, there's a number of pictures of the before and afters provided in that summary document so that you can see the changes and the benefits of some of the particular projects that were undertaken, specifically highlighting the signage replacement at Flourish, Floral Designs, the facade improvements at End of the Leash, the 1959 Petawawa Boulevard, which was a facade improvement, the Gearheads location where we had an accessibility signage and facade Mackay Pools and Spas, facade improvements and signage, and the Time Travelers Motel, which was facade and parking improvements. So quite a diverse opportunity. There's also a timeline of CIP engagement to show that it's a very quick and complete internal process that we help the businesses through up to and presenting to council and then getting them their dollars when their project is complete. And my final attachment relates to the container market and the process of engagement on that, from the concept presentation in 2019 to council at the original intended site at the Norman Binkie location, to the modified version based on the pandemic and the market opening in 2021 as it stands now at the Kinhut location, to the Canadian Revitalization Grant that was eligible and received by the town of Petawawa, which allowed us to do a site revitalization, urbanization of the property in 2022. That then lended to the 2023 and 2024 seasons. And last year, based on the My Main Street grant, we did add 2 additional units and coverage at the site for the entertainment area. The document or the appendix further details that there has been 455 rental opportunities, that we have engaged 140 unique vendors at the space, creating 6 annual seasonal jobs with an annual program cost, not including staff time, of not more than $5,000. This includes payables to artists and artisans for their artistry, music performance at the site. You will note in the little chart that we show in 2021 we had 18 weeks and generated $13,850 in revenue. 2022 there was 16 weeks where we generated $11,310 in revenue. 2022 that was. 2023 it was 22 weeks of operation, $14,400 worth of revenue, and 2024 with 25 weeks and $19,000 in revenue. The pie chart just gives you a basic understanding of where the money and the support for the program has come from. So initially, to get the containers, we did go out to the public and we invited them to participate in the program, and we raised $17,250, which was the initial purchase of the containers. We then received the $250,000 revitalization grant, of which the municipality had to put in $124,285 because we had to put in the Coltex system, which was not eligible under that grant parameter. And so in order to complete the grant, that was the municipal portion to obtain those dollars. We've since also had the $10,000 for the My Main Street grant to, as I said, get the additional implements in 2024. We have generated a total over the 4 years of operation, $58,560. That's rental revenue direct back to the coffers, and the realization that there's visitor spending of roughly $81,000 when you consider 50 people attending and spending only $20 at the market each week. So this has a direct economic impact of over $541,095. So a little tiny project. And I will reference James's comment, what you can't manage, what you don't measure. And I really appreciate that because I'm very happy to present these numbers and show the value of it. We've also provided you a picture of the before and after at the market and some data sets on some activities that have happened and some of our vendors and how they have expanded or grown and used the space for their benefit. And that's my report.
Okay, thanks, Christine. Councillor Root.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Christine, when you sit back and you look at this, a lot of accomplishments and very well done. And you can see it around the town of all the great work that yourself have done and your team, and very good. Really looking forward to this year and keep up the good work on all this. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Sack.
Should have been better. I guess I mean, there's a lot of proud moments here, but the ones that I'm really attached to, community improvement plan, just shows that our businesses really invest in their own businesses, and that little bit of support that we provide can enable so much, and I would like to see that grow, and I think it can. So that's just where I stand on that. And the container market, very small investment for a massive payout. So absolutely wonderful from these, the starter businesses, the people who are trying to test the market, to see those businesses grow and expand, and it's just marvelous. And I've always been a big supporter of both of these, and so I'm really pleased that they've had the kind of impact for and on our business community, and not only for our absolutely for our residents who are in the town of Petawawa, for the shop Petawawa, and then you buy local. That's the way I look at it. But also for when visitors come and we have our various events and whatnot, just stellar. Thanks so much.
Councillor Kerman.
Thank you for your service, and you certainly have measured. Very well done. Actually, the whole thing is well done. It's just what we've come to expect from Christine and her department, and in particular the community improvement program that is obviously taking off and really taking flight, and it seems like it's been very well received in the community. And the container market, of course, I know we gave you a bit of a hard time when you first came to us with it, but you've proven that it is a success. And so kudos to you and the department. Job very well done.
Councillor Coutu.
Thank you, Mayor Service. Thank you very much, Christine. I have to say, and for the container market as well, the placemaking that it contributes to, that sense of community and the vibrancy of that whole area, like, I'm there all the time. So anyways, I had a question though. Your business retention and expansion program, when you're talking to businesses about the community improvement program, I'm just wondering what kind of questions are you going to be asking them?
So our survey, our BRE survey, is available on the municipal website under the economic development tab, so you can actually see the questions. There's a number of them related to were they aware of the program? Have they used the program? If they haven't used the program, why they haven't used the program? And what kind of initiatives could they use the program? We also asked them if they are planning any renovations to their business property in the next year to 3 years. And then if we are to work towards modifications to the program, what kind of initiatives would they like to see? And there's the opportunity when our BRE coordinator is having those discussions to also take additional notes. So if there is commentary on that, that's further to what those specific questions, that can be noted.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Councillor Dunn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much, Christine. It's a very comprehensive report to us. I was not here on council originally when the container market came to be, although I did drive down past it the first year, and as you know, in my old hat, we actually booked it for a community recreation job fair. So it worked out really well. The uniqueness of the events or the activities that you're bringing really show your ability to think outside the box and to approach problems from a different angle. So appreciate that. Thank you.
Further questions or comments? Okay, so thank you very much, Christine. All of this is good news for the town of Petawawa. The SIP, I can't say enough about not only the improvement it's done to the businesses in our town, but the economic return. And it's usually local businesses that are getting those contracts. So it's not only great for our businesses, but for all the other Petawawa businesses that are, are getting those contracts and fixing those businesses up. And the container market, what really strikes me is that before and after picture from 2012 to 2023. It was a dirt parking lot for the ball diamond and the mini putt, and that's all it was used for. And now when you consider what it's used for, especially since it was paved and rehabilitated. And the pictures of the Christmas market and the other markets and the number of people that are there now, people that are getting out in our community. And not only that, but all the businesses from out of our town that it's attracted from quite some distance sometimes, from Killaloe and Headclar and Mariah. They know that Petawawa is the place to come to sell their wares. So congratulations on everything, and we're looking forward to even bigger and better things. Okay, is there anything further? Then I need a motion to accept the report. Moved by Councillor Carmody, seconded by Deputy Mayor Sabrin, that the Economic Development Monthly Report be accepted as information. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Thanks, Christine. Melanie, you're still here. It's time for the Planning and Development Monthly Activity Report. We hope you've been riveted by all the proceedings.
Well, we've got a few reports to go through for planning and development. Start with the monthly report. So you can see we have a few planning reports since the last report. Just a few things I wanted to highlight in kind of our activity section. Lots going on in December and January. January 7th, we had a kickoff meeting with Watson and Associates. So it's time for us to review how much we're charging for planning, application, and building fees. So we've kicked off that study. January 17th, we met with Habitat for Humanity. I previously reported on December 9th that they were in town looking at Petawawa as a potential site for a project. And they're very excited about doing a project in Petawawa, so they're coming to you on February 24th to make a presentation. So just wanted to let you know about that. In December, we did have our building inspector resign, so the position was posted with resumes due January 17th. So we're going through those resumes, setting up interviews now, trying to get ahead of our busy spring once construction starts commencing again. Finally, I wanted to mention March 4th, Petawawa is going to be hosting a development summit. So we are planning a day where we invite developers, landowners, investors, construction companies, all our kind of key stakeholders in developing Petawawa, and we've got CNL and the Garrison coming to provide a bit of information about their staffing levels, housing needs, any business gaps that they have. And it's really about having a conversation with all of these interest groups to see what we can do, what's working well, what isn't working so well, as we update bylaws, as we have master plans and try and bring all this together to see what the future of Petawawa is about. So you'll be receiving an invitation to that soon, but I just wanted to mention that that's coming up on March 4th. Looking at Appendix 1, which is our active planning applications, just a few things I wanted to highlight. Next month, towards the end of the month, expecting to bring a bylaw before you to authorize the subdivision agreement for Rye Estates Phase 2 to progress. This week, Thursday night, we have our statutory public meeting for the temporary use bylaw for the Hot Springs Farm. We, later in this meeting, we're going to talk about the Black Bay subdivision on the corner of Black Bay Road and Petawawa Boulevard. So that subdivision application file is progressing. We did receive, I think it was Christmas Eve, the official plan and zoning amendment applications for the new below water table quarry on Summers Road from McRae Excavating. So those files are now in our hands and we're reviewing them and reviewing the studies that have been provided. And we've also received the site plan application for the McParland land on Winston and William Thomas Drive, so the purpose-built rental development proposed there.
So again, we're working with, working through that application and getting some questions answered, but that'll be before you soon too, so. We've had, like say, the McCrae, the McFarland, a few applications come in that we knew we were coming, so there's quite a few big applications before us, plus some of these other ones listed. And finally, in Appendix B, building permits, we give you the December numbers, but just in general, overall, we added permit types in 2024, just to give you a sense of the types of permits that we saw last year. You may also have noted that while the number of permits was up, the value of the permits and our building fees are down. And that's largely because 2/3 of our permits were things like garages and demolitions and septic and pools and signs. So the lower value permits and lower construction value. 2023, there were also quite a few commercial developments, including food basics. So that also contributed to 2023 being a little higher. And now I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Melanie. Questions on the report? Councillor Roots.
Just a comment, Melanie, I really like that idea about bringing all the people together for that business conversation. I think that's very advantageous to our town. Thank you.
Yeah, I should have added that it started out, we were thinking of kind of our own housing summit, because there was an Eastern Ontario one, there was a county one, and we thought, how do we break this down? What does it mean for Petawawa? But then as we thought about it internally, we thought it's not just housing, it's also economic development, yes. Commercial, industrial, it's complete communities, everything you need in a community. So it's morphed into a development summit.
I think it's good. Thank you.
Further questions or comments? It's also very exciting to hear we're getting a presentation from Habitat for Humanity. As we all know, that was one of our mandates with being elected to the town of Petawawa, was coming up with some solutions for affordable housing. So we're looking forward to hearing what they have and seeing what they might offer for the town of Petawawa.
Right, and I just want to add, they're also going to come and participate in the development summit because they are interested in meeting our development community as well and other, key community stakeholders.
Perfect. No further questions or comments? Now I need a motion to accept the report. Moved by Councillor Coutu, seconded by Councillor Donovan, that the Planning and Development Monthly Report be accepted as information. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Okay, Melanie, next we'll go to PL-01-2025, lifting part lock control blocks 6 and 7, registered plan 49M-118 on Samantha Crescent.
Okay, I bring one of these to you probably every other month. So we're working our way through the blocks of Samantha Crescent. So these are 2 more blocks where the owner would like to lift part lock control so the townhouses can be sold as individual units. The townhouses are under construction already, and they're zoned and designated appropriately in the official plan. All the zoning provisions are met. So if there are no concerns from council at the next meeting, the bylaw that was attached to the report will be brought before you.
Questions on the report? And I need a motion. Moved by Councillor Roots, seconded by Councillor Carmody. The council enacts a part lock control exemption bylaw for blocks 6 and 7 on registered plan 49M-118 to expire 2 years from the date of its passing. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Okay, next we have PL-02-2025, additional residential units, or ARUs, zoning update and official plan policies. Melanie, it looks like you're getting some backup from no one.
Strong backup. So as you know from the policy workshops, we've been looking at bylaws and things that needed to be updated. We're now going to be bringing one to you every month is our goal. So starting off with additional residential units. As you know, we talked about this before, the Planning Act was changed. The provincial government requires us to permit some things. And at the same time, it was a good chance for us to look at all of our zoning provisions for second dwelling units and how does that apply to additional residential units, period. So Noah has lived, ate, breathed ARUs. He probably dreams about them. Maybe they're nightmares sometimes. But he's going to take you through the report. But basically tonight we've got a draft bylaw. We've done a lot of work on this. Just looking for your feedback on the provisions that we've provided. And I turn it over to Noah.
Thank you very much. Tiny dreams, not nightmares. Okay, so essentially we're looking for two things from council, our committee and council here. So firstly, permission to proceed with a town initiated zoning bylaw amendment. As Melanie introduced, we've devised some new provisions for the zoning bylaw, and we'd like to initiate the zoning bylaw amendment process. And with your blessing, we'll do that to implement them. The second thing is looking for your thoughts on a potential amendment to the town's additional residential unit policies in the town's official plan. This would be something that we'll bring forward in the next housekeeping amendment that staff will bring forward at a later date. I'll get into that in a little bit. So start with the zoning, the first question. As Melanie had said, these changes are largely in response to changes that the province has put down on us, but it's also to conform with our new OP policies, which of course align with the province as well. I'm just going to highlight a few key changes here. Firstly, we have to permit up to 2 ARUs for a maximum of 3 units per lot on fully serviced urban lots in the town. So that's a big change. Other key changes to note, terminology changes. You'll note that I'm already using additional residential unit. That's how the province now refers to these additional units. We formerly called them SDUs, or second dwelling units. So we changed that to align with the province. We're going to permit an additional residential unit to be constructed prior to the primary dwelling on a case-by-case basis through the minor variance application process. You'll note in my draft or our draft provisions, there's a little bit more of a framework there for giving council the tool to allow that to happen. The draft provisions also include the ability to construct an additional residential unit up top or above a detached accessory structure, like a detached garage, in the rural zone only. Other thing to note, we're now permitting or proposing to permit additional residential units on existing undersized lots that are fully serviced. So a little clarification on that. The zoning bylaw has minimum lot areas for different zones. Some lots were created before the zoning provisions that we have now were in place. We consider them undersized and they're existing lots, so they're existing and undersized lots. Sometimes, or at least with our current SDU provisions, they would be prohibited from constructing an ARU. They can now construct one if they can meet all the other provisions, or at least that's what we're proposing. We'd also like to increase the maximum lot coverage on fully serviced lots with 1 or more ARU to 45%. This is a provincial requirement that we can't. It's kind of a non-negotiable. So yeah, to implement these provisions, we're looking for your blessing to begin the zoning bylaw amendment process. Notice would be issued and we hold a public meeting in accordance with Section 34 of the Planning Act. Get on with the next section. The second question was about OPAs. So as I discussed, the new zoning provisions conform to the town's official plan policies. Of note is the official plan has a minimum lot area, so we can't require minimum lot areas for fully serviced lots other than the minimum lot area of the zone. But if the lot is on partial or private services, well and septic or well or septic, we can require a minimum lot area. The official plan requires that lots on partial services must be 1 acre or 0.4 hectares in size to be eligible for 1 ARU. On private services, your lot must be 2 acres or 0.8 hectares. The county, because they were the influencing factor in these policies, the county did introduce this mechanism where if a lot is between, if a lot is private and is between 1 and 2 acres in size, it doesn't qualify for 1 ARU. There's a bit of an escape clause, if you will, a little bit of a tool where a landowner can apply for a minor variance, supply a engineering study or a hydrogeological study that proves that the septic can adequately service the proposed development. And through that minor variance mechanism, on a case-by-case basis, these things can be approved. So that exists for private services, but for partial services, it's a cutoff, 1 acre. If you're less than 1 acre, you can't build an ARU. If you're more than 1, you can. Much of the town, as you may already know, is partially serviced. Much of the town's settlement area is partially serviced. Staff estimate that only approximately 10% of partially serviced lots are large enough to be eligible for 1 ARU, based on the numbers that we have. We continue to receive a pretty significant number of inquiries on ARUs, and likely just due to the town largely being partially serviced, a lot of these inquiries are for partially serviced lots. And because of the number I just gave you, a lot of our answer has been no, you can't. So for those with partially serviced lots under 1 acre, you need an official plan amendment to construct an ARU. And with that would be a zoning bylaw amendment as well. And the supporting studies to be able to move those along. So with that in mind, we've identified a bit of an opportunity, if you're supportive of it, or something for council to consider, to reduce administrative burden while ensuring all the necessary planning considerations are being made. So what we're thinking here, or what we'd like your thoughts on, is that we could instead amend the official plan to expand the minor variance mechanism that exists for partially or privately serviced lots between 1 and 2 acres. We could expand that to also apply to partially serviced lots. So this would mean essentially, instead of, if you had a partially serviced lot under 1 acre, you could apply for a minor variance instead of an official plan amendment. There would still be a planning process associated with that. You would still need to prepare the requisite reports and studies to support that proposal, but you would no longer need an official plan amendment or a zoning amendment. So that would save you, according to our 2025 fees, about $3,600 or $3,565. It would not save you money on reports that you would have a consultant prepare to support your proposal, but it would save your money, a little bit of money on that. On the application fee, minor variances are also quicker to process. They don't have to go through the County of Renfrew's hands, just through our Committee of Adjustments hands, so it saves a bit of administrative work on the county and us. There are some cons though, some trade-offs. This would then transition decision-making on these matters from council, like an official plan amendment would go to council, adopted, and then would be sent to the county. With a minor variance, it would go to Committee of Adjustment. So I know Committee of Adjustment doesn't constitute the entirety of council, so it would be a select number of council members that do sit on COA. In addition to that, there are reduced notice requirements under the Planning Act, so there's kind of essentially cut in half with the minor variance process. So only 10 days advance notice instead of 20, only 60-meter buffer instead of 120-meter buffer for notice mailouts prior to those meetings. So a little bit less public consultation, or at least public notice. Still a meeting with Committee of Adjustment, but less notice and different decision making. So with all that in mind, staff's looking for your direction. If council is supportive of a change like this is something that staff could propose during our next housekeeping amendment. Of course, it goes through the county as well, so we would have to look, propose, it's all proposed. Or if council likes the policy it is, we can leave it. But regardless, interested residents will still be required to bring forward site-specific official plan amendments until we make up our mind with how we want to proceed, and do proceed with that next housekeeping amendment. So this is a bit of a future question, but thought I'd ask now. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Noah and Melanie. A lot of significant changes coming forward, but a lot of it being dictated by the new policy changes by the province. So, okay, I'll open it up to council. Councilor Herman.
Thank you, Mayor Service. Thanks for the report. It's very comprehensive and well done. I like the direction of the minor variance tool. That would certainly make things a little easier, but I'm still surprised that like the whole focus with ARUs was to increase population density and get more people into a smaller footprint and provide more housing, like cheaper, more affordable housing. And it still seems like there's an awful lot of red tape to plow through to get to that point where you've got an ARU. And I mean, I know our hands are bound because with the legislation there, you've got to follow what's in there. And I'm sure we've looked for as many red tape cutting things as we possibly could. Is that true?
So the main provincial thrust with ARUs is for lands that are fully serviced. So the whole provincial legislative changes are for lots on municipal water and municipal sewer. And we're unique in that portion of our municipalities, geographically the smaller portion, and more of the town is partial or private. The province hasn't dictated anything for partial or private services. And when Noah did his municipal scan, kind of what our official plan policies are kind of mid-pack. Some people are a little more permissive. Other people are actually more prohibitive. So we're kind of sitting mid-pack here, but with so much of the town being on partial, that's why we're bringing this question to you. But the whole focus on ARUs from a provincial directive is where the lots are fully serviced.
Okay, thank you.
Deputy Mayor Sadler.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So just with respect to the 45%, I think that's great. I was the person that sat at this table and said, I think we need some, what do you call those? So to aid in decision-making, we need some very specific examples that we can include in our case-by-case. So what I'm hearing is that minor variance would go to committee of adjustment, and those 3 people that sit on that committee, along with the presentations, would be the ones that would make those decisions. I guess and I don't have a problem with that, and I like the idea of speeding things up, and I like the idea of getting answers to people sooner versus later. I guess what I'm still not overly comfortable with is what those criteria would be that would assist me. So, for example, I just want clarity. It says here a development agreement. So does that mean that, so we're allowing a secondary to come before the primary, but the primary will be constructed in 2 years? Is that kind of what we're looking at, those types of conditions? And then what mechanisms we have in place should that not occur? And how are we going to know that? How are we going to monitor that? And all those kinds of questions. So I don't think they're bad ideas. I just have those questions, please.
I think that's a great question. The main intent of allowing, you are speaking about the an ARU before the primary, is that?
Yes, correct. Thank you. If I wasn't clear.
No, that's good. So the main intent behind that provision, or allowing it on a case-by-case basis, would be perhaps someone vacant building lot, has plans for an ARU, the main primary build, they want to live somewhere while they're constructing the primary build, but they wanted an ARU to keep, so they may as well build the ARU first. It's quick and fast, and then they can keep both at the end. But we need them to construct the primary dwelling, because then the ARU wouldn't be wouldn't be ARU. Yeah, that's the main intent, and so that's why we would permit it on a case-by-case basis. We don't. That's at least by using a minor variance, we can make it clear it's the intent of the bylaw to prevent it on a case-by-case basis. We could build more of our criteria, make it more clear what the intent of the bylaw is, so that when people do apply for that variance, it's clear in the bylaw that it's the intent of council to permit it. to, facilitate, more timely development of the lot or something like of that sense. So we could build it in to be a bit more clear. If it was brought before the Committee of Adjustment, it would have to fulfill the 4 tests of a minor variance. So it would have to be minor in nature, it would have to align with the intent of the official plan and the zoning bylaw, and it would have to be desirable for the good use of the land, good land use planning. So it would have to fulfill those 4 tests, but we can build in make it more discreet in the purpose behind that policy. So then those that are sitting on the committee could more easily answer, provide a decision more easily.
Thank you for that, Noah. I like the terminology. Some people are more permissive, some people are more restrictive, and I just want to know that we've got this criteria that's helpful to us to make those decisions. So at the end of the day, it's not this minor variance, this committee of adjustment made these types of decisions, but those didn't, and why, and all of that kind of stuff. So I appreciate that feedback. Thank you.
Further questions or comments? Councillor Coutu.
Thank you, Ministers. Just thank you very much for all your work on this. I'm sure that was a lot of tedious reading and review and rereading. To Deputy Mayor Savarini's point, I'm lucky enough to sit on that committee of adjustment with the Deputy Mayor and Councillor Driscoll. So to my understanding, we will also have all of those hydrological reports, et cetera. Okay, so we can also use those conclusions. So yeah, I'm very satisfied with the bylaw as is. I think it's a good idea to open up the minor variance route. I can't believe the savings that provides people, and I think it provides enough oversight that we can plan these ARUs on a case-by-case basis for those properties. So thank you again for all of your work. This is incredible, and I love the promise of a policy a month. I look forward to that. Thank you.
Only Councillor Coutu would be excited about it.
I'm worried it's in the minutes now.
Yeah.
To write it.
You overpromised.
So thanks, Joe and Melanie, and I like your comments about the province enacting all of this legislation with service communities in mind, so the more urban centers. And sometimes we may feel like we were a little left out here in the rural communities, but thanks for thinking outside the box and trying to do our part in intensifying our development. Whether it's partially serviced or privately serviced lands, at least we're doing our part, even though the legislation was maybe done with not a town like us in mind. So it's good that you were able to, and I know this is all new for everybody, so it's good that you were able to find other communities and municipalities that are taking these innovative steps as well. I guess my question is, are we doing anything with any of this legislation that you proposed that nobody else is? Or if all of this that you've done here proposed, have you seen somebody else either proposing it or already doing it?
Thank you. So most in that comparison chart there, most of those policies are at least inspired by what another municipality did, or inspired by the policies that we already had and were moved to evolve with the new provincial rules. Off the top of my head, I can't think of anything that would maybe be purely original, but things that have been adopted for the town. During our development of these policies, we looked at it would have been all of the municipalities in Renfrew County, which there's quite a few, and also look beyond to larger urban areas, but mostly focused on areas that were comparable to us. So that information from itemizing into different categories. I'll spare you the planning nerd out, but anyway, so we did a pretty comprehensive look at other comparable municipalities and took a lot of it in how we devised our draft provisions. The official plan amendments, the second component of this report, the question about whether we should reduce lot areas or allow for that, that's more of an evolution of the county's policy, which is fairly unique in the province by allowing that minor variance, and I think it's quite clever. And it would be good to expand it.
Okay, and thanks again. It's an extremely detailed report, and it's reports like this give us confidence as a council that we're doing our homework and we've done everything we need to do before moving forward with something like this. And I think we as council have to trust the expertise and professionalism of our planning and development department, and also the 3 members of our committee of adjustment. We have to trust that they will do their homework and work together with our department to make great decisions. And I love everything about this, and I think it's great that we're doing our part to intensify and provide these more affordable ARUs to our community. Okay, and with that, if everybody's comfortable, I need a motion. It's moved by Councilor Root, seconded by Deputy Mayor Sabrin. The council directs staff to proceed with a town-initiated zoning bylaw amendment to implement the provisions provided in the draft ARU zoning bylaw, and the council directs staff to propose the amended official plan policies related to additional residential units on partial services during the next town-initiated amendment to the official plan. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. And there's more. PL-03-2025, application for draft approval of plan of subdivision 47-T-23008, Black Bay subdivision, which is 70 residential lots, James W. LaPointe Motor Holdings Incorporated, part of Lot 11, Range C, Black Bay Road. Looks like you're going solo on this one, then.
Yes. So we've talked about this subdivision a little bit before. I brought it to you, I think, last fall, just looking for some comments on reducing the lot frontages. Basically, with council's support of that, JP2G went ahead and updated the supporting subdivision studies that were affected by those changes. They've updated the layout of the subdivision as was attached as an appendix to show the parkland that we also spent some time last year sorting out with the owner and their consultant. And so really now they've resubmitted their plan of subdivision application, and the process, the county is the approval authority. They're looking to the town to provide them with our comments on the subdivision and what draft conditions of approval we're looking for on this application. So that is what we're talking about tonight. The property's on the corner of Black Bay and Petawawa Boulevard. It's a bit of a unique property because the airport is to the west, Petawawa Boulevard and the trail to the east. So all those elements have some noise associated with them. So you would see there was a noise study done. The property is at a bit of a higher risk for wildfires, so there was some consideration for that. At the same time, the EIS uncovered some, environmental features worth looking at on both that property and adjacent properties. So there's a lot of things going on with this particular land and developing it for residential uses. It's 70 lots with the one parkland block, one road entrance off of Black Bay Road. We prefer 2 entrances from a fire emergency services perspective. If one entrance is blocked because there's a fire or just that's where they need to put the fire trucks and the subdivision needs evacuated, that's a concern. That's why we look for the 2 entrances. So we worked last year to get an alternate emergency access route through that parkland block. It wouldn't be open on a regular basis. It would be gated. It would just be something that the emergency services could use in case of the main entrance being blocked. The subdivision municipal water will be extended to these lands from Industrial Avenue, but they will be on private septic systems. So the subdivision conforms to the provincial planning statement. It conforms to the official plan. So it's designated suburban, but that's what all our partially serviced subdivision lands are along Petawawa Boulevard. The suburban policies allow these low-density residential uses on partial services. Zoning, the property is zoned rural, so it would need rezoning to recognize the subdivision use. The parkland, we would zone open space or community facility. All the residential lots would be residential 1 exception zones, and they will be exception zones because they have the reduced lot frontage that we talked about before. There's increased setbacks that came out of some of the technical studies to retain tree cover in the backyard, so we'd be increasing the rear yard setbacks to keep those not developed. And there's also things around the noise study that would be incorporated in the zoning amendment as well. We summarized all of the technical studies in the report. I mean, there's a lot of pages of technical studies, so tried to provide you just kind of the Coles Notes versions of each study and kind of what came out of each of the studies as far as recommendations. So lastly, after reviewing all of these studies and the draft plan of subdivision is consistent with the PPS, conforms to the official plan. The subdivision provides more residential lots to contribute to our housing supply needed to meet our planned growth. And then how the report concludes is just with the draft conditions that we're proposing to send to the county as part of our feedback on the subdivision. The rest of the, I should say, the process is that we fill out a subdivision questionnaire, which basically goes through, you know, what is the land designated, zoned, kind of the things that I discussed in the first part of this report. And then it concludes by asking us what draft conditions we would like to see on the subdivision. So that's the item numbers, the items numbered at the end of the report that we'd be looking to provide to the county. Some of the conditions speak to the details being sorted out in the subdivision agreement, and that is just things where we need to have very detailed discussions, but we want to capture it in a condition that there's a something and that we have to work out the details. And happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Melanie. Councillor Kerman.
Thank you, Mayor Service. Thanks for the report, Melanie. Just curious about it looks like it's a 100-foot reserve or something along the border of the parkland. Is that what that is? Or
which side are you looking at?
the side like right next to the Algonquin Trail?
There is no reserve currently or no block.
Okay, I was just curious.
I think you're seeing the Bell easement. The double hash line?
Yes.
Yeah, that's an easement that runs through the property.
Okay, there will be a fence along that border between the Algonquin Trail and the parkland and the whole length of it, I would assume.
Fencing around the parkland is one of the things that I have details need to be sorted for the subdivision agreement. One thought is that there's very mature pine trees along that western border of the parkland. So if we require a fence, we have to see, like, we want to keep those pine trees. So things like that we have to kind of dive into the details. There's also a noise barrier 4 meters high required along the Algonquin Trail behind the residential lots and partially along the north. And we have to see how that marries up with the trailhead as well. 4 meters is pretty high.
Right, yeah. Okay, so that will be a consideration moving forward then, is access to the trail from these residential streets.
Yeah, how it's proposed right now is that access will be provided through the parkland block.
Yeah.
So people that live in this subdivision would access the trail through that parkland block.
Yeah, okay, well, we'll have to talk about that, I guess. Okay, thank you.
Just to follow up on that line of questioning, so in all of those backyards that back onto the Algonquin Trail, there's a 4 meter high noise buffer required. So, and what I'm hearing is that they wanted an ATV from those particular homes to access the trail, they have to come out, go through the parkland, that they're not allowed to just go through the ditch and make their own trail.
That was part of the discussion we had with the county, yes.
Thanks. Further questions? Councillor Cushion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So Melanie and I have talked about this a bit. I troubled her for all of those technical reports, and I can confirm that her summaries are golden. But we were going back and forth about some of the detail that was in the recommendations when it comes to noise. For example, there was assumptions made about the type of material used in construction that led to the conclusion that noise wouldn't be an issue for people living in those houses. So I was asking Melanie about how to get down to those details about construction materials, and there was even some more finer details, granular details. And then we got to talking about subdivision agreements. And Melanie, I'll update you. During the lull we had with the technical difficulties, I went online and I found some recent case law in Ontario, and it turns out that the court is willing to accept that subdivision agreements are enforceable contracts. So between the start of council and now, because I was going to start to worry about those little details, but it does seem that we can require that all of these little careful considerations be met, and maybe even to the degree of requiring that they keep the vegetative cover, etc. But all that to say, I understand that this is a very tricky area to develop, that it is within our settlement area, and I believe that it's a challenge that we have to take on. And it seems like all of these requirements have really carefully considered the specialness of this area. And so I feel confident that this is a good list of recommendations to put to the county. And I think this would result in a new subdivision that won't impact all those things we don't want impacted, for example, wildlife, etc. So that's my review of this, and thank you very much, Melanie, for always answering my questions.
Just to further on what Councillor Couture was talking about, subdivision agreements are not applicable law for the Building Code Act. So we got into this discussion where some of these technical reports say you should use certain types of windows or certain roof materials to basically deaden noise from these noise producers. So then we got into this, if subdivision agreements, so we can put them in subdivision agreements, they are legal contracts. We can enforce those contracts through law. But from a building perspective, if somebody was to apply for a building permit, subdivision agreements are not applicable law. Therefore, the chief building officials cannot require these building materials. So we're in this legal loop, working through this with actually our municipal solicitors. So it looks like we might be able to update our building bylaw to say that subdivision agreements are applicable law. But this is kind of the loop we're in. So we can provide the requirements in the subdivision agreement. It's a legal contract that we could enforce through law. But today, building officials cannot require anything in a subdivision agreement because it's not applicable law under the Ontario Building Act. Kind of messy. But we're working with our municipal lawyers to close this loop.
A lot to consider. So that brings, I have a question about the vegetative buffers. So would that requirement be legally binding? And then once somebody builds on one of those lots and then sells the home, and a new owner comes in and without checking or thinking, just clear cuts the back of his yard, what ramifications are there? How do we prevent that from happening? If it does and we don't notice, what happens after that?
Yeah, so one way we can handle that is actually in the rear yard where the EIS recommended, it was the EIS, the 20-meter vegetated backyards. We can make the rear yard setback be 20 meters, or we can zone that open space that actually doesn't allow you to do anything with it. But your concern is very valid. How do property owners know what they can and cannot do? And And how do we kind of get ahead of that? They go in and cut down all the trees, we find out about it after the fact, so. It's a real concern, trying to implement some of these. Retain it in a natural state as possible is another recommendation. Well, what does that mean? How do we do that?
Any further questions or comments? I just had one question about the dedicated parkland. I know that there's a home that exists right now where that parkland is. I'm just wondering if there is somebody living in that house? And if there is, when is that, you know, when would that kick in, that house has to be vacated, then demolished, and then the parkland is turned over to the town? Because traditionally, when you think of a subdivision, we would, as a municipality, would wait till all of the homes are there and then decide to put a playground in. Whereas this, I think, is a bit of a unique case in that we're going to take this parkland dedication and turn it into a trail link, which I think can be done before a home was even built. So I guess my question is, when, at what stage during this development does the municipality take control of that parkland, and when can we start the development?
So you'll notice that the last condition that we're proposing to send to the county is that the owner demolish all the existing structures. So I'm not sure if someone's living in the house today. But basically when we attach all these conditions, or the county does, to draft approval, the county approves a subdivision based on all these draft conditions. And then it's up to the developer to meet all those conditions before they can move ahead. So then we work with the developer on the subdivision agreement, getting all those clauses sorted and settled and signed. And then once that subdivision agreement is signed, then the town has to provide a clearance letter to the county saying the developer met all of these conditions before they would approve them to go forward. So basically, having a condition that all the structures be demolished would happen before the subdivision agreement, or before the subdivision was approved to go forward. And once the subdivision agreement is registered, that's when we take ownership of the land. So the sequencing is there to make sure that home and those structures are gone before the town owns the land.
Okay, thank you for that. Any further questions or comments? Okay, if you're comfortable with the report, I need a motion. Moved by Councillor Roots, seconded by Councillor Carmody, that council recommend to the county of Renfrew that it approves the draft plan of subdivision for file 47-T-23008, submitted by JP2G Consultants Incorporated on behalf of James W. Appoint Motor Holdings Incorporated, comprising part of Lot 11, Range C, subject to the conditions outlined in staff report number PL-03-2025. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you very much, Melanie. Chris, are you still awake back there?
Those chairs are not comfortable, so I'm good.
Okay, we have the Public Works monthly report. Chris, you're on.
Okay, thanks, Mayor Service and members of council. Monthly report for December. So our Public Works office expansion has really come along good. Kudos to all the staff out there for their patience with the construction. But we are on schedule, and there's still some items to finish up, but it's really starting to take shape now. And with the cold weather that's upon us, being in a trailer is okay, but we're certainly looking forward to moving in. So happy with the work so far. Wade Contracting is doing a really good job, so all good on that front. And then as far as the other projects, pretty much just in a holding pattern right now until the spring, when we can do final walkthroughs for our construction projects. On page 113 under budget planning, I laid out the projects that we're looking at for 2025, pending budget approval. One additional item, I mentioned the Norman Street in and out for access to the Comfort Station and Algonquin Trail. We're also looking to incorporate the letter sign project in conjunction with that project. So thought I'd add that in there. And then on page 114, by all accounts, really happy with the winter control operations this year. I think staff can do a fantastic job. and we've been getting some good feedback from ratepayers, which is really great to hear. We had 3 RFPs out. One was for the hydrovac services to clean out oil and grit separators. One was for a culvert install on Garland Street, and another was for guide rail repairs. All of those RFQs have been completed. Really good work. Of course, those oil grit separators, pumping those out every year is really important. That's the intake for those separators, and by cleaning them out annually, what you do is you protect the drainage, the infiltration galleries. It's very similar to a septic tank. If you clean your septic tank out regularly, you probably won't have as many problems with your field bed. So it's the same principle with those oil grit separators. So good annual maintenance is key on those items. And we're getting that from staff, which is fantastic. Then under civic properties, there was a small note there on digital ice depth checks, but I thought I would expand on that a little bit further. Essentially what it's doing is it's cutting down on staff time measuring ice thickness. So it's more efficient and it's more accurate. And what it's allowing staff to do is improve the ice maintenance, but also to give users better ice conditions. So it seems like a small item, but to me it's not. It's forward thinking on the part of staff. And our new civic properties manager, Ted Marcotte, I think is doing a really nice job there. So I thought I'd highlight that. And as well, the hot water tanks for the change rooms. Again, seems like a small item, but I thought I'd expand on that. So what we had in those rooms was 4 100-gallon natural gas-fired water tanks, and they were used to provide hot water to the change rooms and to the referees' rooms. So you can imagine how those rooms would not be used all the time, especially in the off season, but that hot water was continually heated. So essentially we had 400 gallons of hot water always on tap. We've changed that out now for 2 wall-mounted on-demand systems. Again, it's a small item, but this is what we need to look at every time we're improving our facilities is how do we look at efficiency, how do we look at our carbon footprint, and really nice to see Mr. Marcotte taking the lead on those items. And then under our water and sanitary, blue box transition, should mention that. Trevor Woodkey's here tonight also for our next report, and Trevor will be bringing a report in February, I hope, or March, but he's going to provide a thorough update on our blue box transition. So, and then under water and sanitary, everything's going well. The one item there, the exceedance, the HAA exceedance issue that we're having at our plant. We do have a kickoff meeting this week with the town and Aqua to investigate the issue, find solutions, and then put a game plan in place of how to address that exceedance level. We're managing it nicely right now, but it is something that we want to correct so that we don't have to deal with the reporting to the ministry, and we'll get that item in check soon. And I believe that's it for the monthly report, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Questions for Chris on the monthly report? No questions. Nice to hear all the upgrades and innovation and
yes,
taking place with all of our facilities. It's good to hear.
Yeah, it's exciting.
And I guess your crews will be out tonight.
Yeah.
It's a little messy up there.
I will be checking on the way home.
Blizzard up there.
It's
It's a white out there.
Okay, I need a motion to accept the report. Moved by Councillor Foutu, seconded by Deputy Mayor Sabrin. The Public Works monthly report be accepted as information. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Next up, we have PW-01-2025-2026 AORS Provincial Trade Show announcement.
Yes, big announcement. So that's why we should do it as #1 report for the 2025. So coming to you tonight as your Director of Public Works, but also as a member of the Renfrew County Road Supervisors Association, and also a board member at the provincial level for AORS. And yeah, this is a good announcement, I think. So each year, the Association of Ontario Road Supervisors, together with a participating local association, hosts a municipal trade show. The trade show is held annually in early June and is the largest of its kind in Ontario, with between 200 and 300 exhibits of public works products and services and upwards of 2,000 participants attending the trade show. This two-day trade show provides an opportunity for public and private sector public works professionals to share information and technical developments in the materials, services, and equipment required to build and maintain municipal roads and other core infrastructure. Trade show exhibitors showcase products and services for core public works infrastructure, including road and bridge construction, maintenance and rehabilitation, building maintenance, facility management, asset management, communications, design, engineering services, emergency disaster management, equipment, fleets, GIS systems, GPS systems, internet technology, parks and grounds, stormwater, flood control, municipal surveying, traffic and pedestrian control, transit, underground locating utilities, wastewater collection and treatment, water treatment, public works staff training and education. The AWARS Trade Show is the signature annual event for public works professionals in Ontario. The Renfrew County Road Supervisors Association, represents 20 municipalities, including the City of Pembroke and the Algonquins of Pikwakanagan. The Renfrew County Road Supers Association was established in 1980, and the Renfrew County Road Supers Association has hosted provincial trade shows in 1992, right here in the town of Petawawa, and in 2014 in the town of Arnprior. So it is with great pleasure on behalf of the Renfrew County Road Supers Association that I'm proud to announce that Petawawa has once again been selected to host the 2026 AORS Provincial Trade Show at the Civic Center. I also want to give a special thanks to Trevor, who filled out the original expression of interest, and apparently did a fantastic job because we landed the trade show. So good job, Trevor. I'd also like to thank the staff that work at AORS, who came up and did the feasibility study for whether the trade show would work well, and obviously it passed flying colors. So I want to thank members of the Renfrew County Road Supers Association and fellow staff here at the town of Petawawa who have worked diligently to demonstrate what the town of Petawawa has to offer to host a signature event like the AORS Provincial Trade Show. This event will be spearheaded by the Renfrew County Road Supers Association, but will also bring together town resources for public works, civic properties, economic development, and recreation and culture to ensure our town of Petawawa 2026 trade show is a huge success. As we move along with the process, I'll provide updates to council so that you're in the loop as we get closer to the event. And now I'd ask Trevor Whitkey to just provide a brief explanation on how the trade show benefits the communities within Renfrew County, and he'll also provide a quick update on who the members of our 2026 trade show committee are presently. Trevor.
So thank you, everyone. Thank you to my superior here, Chris, for allowing me to come before council and just help present as part of this announcement. So as Chris mentioned, all of the good things about the trade show, there's a financial benefit to the host community, mostly in terms of the vendors that will be staying in the community at hotels and motels and campgrounds. They are municipal employees will be visiting the community to attend the trade show, and as we all know, we love coffee, so definitely a lot of eating and dining at our local restaurants and establishments. So Petawawa as a host will obviously have the biggest benefit to the community, but the surrounding communities of LV or Laurentian Valley and Pembroke will also see some benefit. As the attendees expected, we'll have to spread out between our communities just in terms of accommodations and restaurants. We're also hoping that because of the beauty of our area that and the recreation that is offered up here, that visitors and vendors will want to just not come to the show, but also stay maybe a little longer in the community and enjoy some of the recreation activities that we have to offer. Some of them do have cabins or recreational properties up here. So we're hoping there's a bit of a tourism and benefit as well. The proceeds from the trade show, as you can see in the report, in 2014, we had just over $55,000 as the revenue, and 85% of that, or approximately 85% of that, was actually donated back into our community. Not just Arnprior that hosted it, but all of Renfrew County, so all municipalities that are members benefited. We had donations to local student nutrition programs, long-term care centers, hospitals, and to this day, up until 2017, we're still doing $200 bursaries to each high school in the county. And just requirements of that, we like for students that are looking to pursue post-secondary education within the public works field, engineering, the geosciences, anything related that would see a career in our industry. AORS does take a piece of the pie, so they, part of their revenue for this event generates revenue for them, and it just helps them to keep going with the day-to-day operations and the advocacy and promotion that they do for the public works industry. So a good example of that is AORS was a huge advocate in ensuring that locator services remain free. So we had a big utility company that was looking to implement fees. So every time we would need to do locates on a project, we would have to then pay fees to that vendor. So AORS was very strong in the advocacy to make sure that locate requests remain free for municipalities. So that's some of the good work that AORS does, our parent association. As part of our trade show committee, we have representation from the city of Pembroke, county of Renfrew, town of Deep River, and Laurentian Valley. We also have a obviously strong representation from here in Petawawa, including our, we will be working with our economic department as well as our parks and recreation or community services. And lastly, we also have representation from one of our local consultants, JP2G, who's been, Steve Webster, who's been developing our CAD plans for the layouts of the trade show, ensuring that we have the most amount of booths that we can rent out. So collecting more revenue.
Yeah. Okay, thanks, Trevor. So that's essentially our report in a nutshell. I can't, I guess it's another one of those items in my career bucket list that I'm pretty excited about. The addition to the Public Works facility was one, and being able to host a trade show here at the town of Petawawa is certainly an honor. I'm really excited representing the town, but also representing the association, the Renfrew County Road Supers Association. So big event for the town. So take it from there.
Well, thanks, Chris. That is huge news for the town of Petawawa. And I hope you have more things on your bucket list. Then you haven't crossed them all up. And now
He's not allowed to retire.
Because we want to hang on to you for a while longer. That is certainly huge news for the town of Petawawa. 2,000 people coming to our area and spending their money in our economy, and perhaps coming to Petawawa for the first time and finding out what a great community we have and all that we have to offer, and maybe they'll come back. Was the process to win this bid competitive?
There was another local association, District 8, which is the Belleville area. They were also interested, but they graciously stepped back. They had more recently hosted a trade show, and when they saw that the Renfrew County Road Supers Association was looking to host again, we haven't hosted since 2014, they pulled back, which allowed us to move to the forefront. But I think our expression of interest and our application that Trevor had put together, it wouldn't matter. We still would have won.
So your bid actually frightened.
Yeah. Yes, I like that. More, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Are there any questions or comments? Deputy Mayor Sun.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I like the term blew them out of the water. So, so sometime in June, have you set an actual date for that? And if you did say, I'm sorry that I was writing down your information. I was supposed to listen to all of it first.
So AORs is pretty specific as to when they want to see certain events of the trade show happens. So I don't know offhand the dates in 2026, but it's the first week in June. Yeah, so you're looking the first week in June. The golf tournament would be hosted on Tuesday, and then Wednesday, Thursday are reserved for the trade show.
Thank you, that will assist my planning.
Further questions or comments? Councilor?
Just a comment, gentlemen, yeah, good work, and what a way to showcase our tent, so thank you very much.
Any other questions or comments? I know the CAO would rather I not continue this discussion, but I just had to point out, we were recently in Toronto, and when the gentleman handed me my name tag, he said, Petawawa. And I said, is that the first time you've ever said that in your life? And he goes, yes, it is. And I go, do you know where that is? He goes, no, I don't. But now there may be 2,000 new people coming to our town who will learn the name of our town and realize where we are and what we have to offer. And it's all good for the town.
Certainly is.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, don't need a motion. Nope. Thank you for that information. Nothing for general matters, nothing for closed. I do need a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councilor Johnson, seconded by Councilor Coutu, that the meeting be adjourned. All in favor? It's carried.